Holidays. I know the holiday season for many can be a great joyous time. I mean, it's really cool that we have a time of the year to just be giving to each other, no matter what religion you study, whether you're Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, doesn't matter. Um, a season of giving and caring is good and is good for everybody, I think. And there's a lot of controversy around the holidays because a lot of people have a hard time dealing with life during the holidays. For like I said, for some people it's all joy and happiness, and they're all into the Christmas spirit or the holiday spirit, whatever you want to call it. Um, but for others, it can be really hard. Some people suffer through great depressions, and or they are in a deep depression themselves and they see no way out of it. And everything seems to be dark and it's hard to cope with life. But my message to you is that if you're dealing with the depression right now, that there is a way out of it. I call the way to deal with depression from a mystics approach. To start is to float, to realize that it's not all the weight on your shoulders. It's really focusing and living off of a center that you're not supposed to be living off of. You're living in the mind center. And when you live in the mind center, then depression can be very easy to have happen to you. And the way I suggest you deal with it, I mean, is to try to find help. I mean, I think the maybe the best approach to dealing with depression is accepting that it's okay. It's not going to make you less of a person or less spiritual. And a lot of people feel guilty because they have to take medications to deal with depression. And I know that a lot of the medications out there are not the greatest, but we are, you know, evolving, and I think scientists and doctors are continually working on this approach uh, of dealing with life through medicine. Medicine and medication and meditation all come from the same root, which means to make you healthy, to be whole again. And as a mystic approach towards it, meditation, what it does for you is basically shifts you out of this mind center. I mean, from your whole life growing up and evolving as a young being, a young man or young woman, you're taught that this other center, the center that's been given to you by other people, in other words, it's kind of like the ego center. You're shown appreciation, and you're rewarded for doing things that where you're helping society out. You're being a healthy member of society. Um, but sometimes along the way, you come to a point where you don't want to be a part of that. You don't. It's like that's not me. I don't want to be adorned, or I don't want to be rewarded for doing good things to just to make me a better person, to make me fit in society. So sometimes that pushes you out of what they call the normal range. Let's say the normal range is between 10 and 20. Okay. And if you fall between 10 and 20, then you are considered normal. That's what psychiatrists say. That's where they want to basically get you to a point where you're just normal again. And that's where their help ends. But there's so much more because there's something above the 20-degree range. There's stuff below it too. If you fall below the 10-degree range, then you're abnormal, or you're not living as others would like you to live. So if you're falling below, then you have a chore. I mean, you can try to get into normalcy, but if normalcy is not good enough for you, then you should know that there's something above it. There's more to life than just being normal. To be a part of society that You don't really care much about or want to be a part of in the first place, because most of them seem they're living off this ego center, so they're not centered themselves, and so it's a little schizophrenic, because they're living this dual life. They're living on the periphery of life instead of the center. The ego exists on the periphery, and all those living from the ego live on the periphery, and the mind center, and your real center. There's this real center that you can shift to, and we call that the spiritual center. Um, the way to shift to it, the easiest way I can do help you to understand and realize the center. And if you try this a little bit at home, you might find that it'll help you discover and start to radiate from it. So anyway, it goes like this. So when we start meditating, and Buddha was very fond of this method. Buddha basically said this is the way he attained, was through breath and watching the breath. So basically, you inhale, and when you inhale, you feel like you're bringing in health, and you're bringing in life. And when you exhale, you're exhaling death. All the bad things, all the negative things, when your body doesn't need anymore, you get rid of those things when you exhale. So when you inhale is life. And if you take a gap, make a gap occur between your breaths. So when you inhale, you breathe in, hold it, and then exhale. And then you just keep doing that over and over and over. And if you can do it for about 5 minutes, then you'll start to feel that you can't really think in that gap. You could try to think in the gap, but that's not the purpose of the meditation. The purpose is to help you realize that between life and death, there's this gap that exists, this gap of stillness. And if you practice that enough, you'll start to feel more relaxed, more calm, more centered, more aware, more conscious of your surroundings. And these are good things. It is like a double-edged sword. When you become more conscious, you become more aware, then you also become more responsible of your own actions. And then you realize that you are the doer, and you are in control of your life. And it's much easier to be in control of your life when you find this new center. So if you keep doing that meditation, and then carry that into your meditation, maybe focus on the breath for like 15 minutes. And if you can focus on your breath for about 15 minutes, you'll find that you'll start shifting from your mind center, and you'll have this moments of stillness where the mind's not working at all. It takes a little bit to get into it, though. It takes a few minutes. Some people it's easier than others. Some people can't even sit and meditate, and it's really hard for them to do it. But we'll get into that another time on another talk. This is about how to deal with life and finding this new super consciousness center, this way to live above the normalcy of society. Hold on just a second, take a drink. So yeah, so like I said, the holidays are hard for many people. But if you find this new center in life, if you reach out there and grasp a hold of this, you may have to pass through the normal range from 10 to 20, but in reality, it's a very short range. Above 20, it goes to infinity, basically. There's no end to the growth of your spiritual being. It's like Buddha called it the thousand-petaled lotus, the thousand-petal water lily, you could say in America. You peel one layer and there's another layer behind it. You peel a layer and there's another layer behind it. It's what happens when you discover the super consciousness. Many of our great religious founders, like Jesus and Buddha and Lao Tzu and Patanjali and all kinds of great spiritual teachers have all experienced this super consciousness. And I think, during the holidays would be a way to deal with and approach life, to realize that there's more to life than just being normal and living off the ego center. I mean, all of society is doing it. That doesn't make it right. And I've heard that about 22 veterans, I myself being a veteran, quite understand this, but 22 veterans a day commit suicide because they can't cope with this normal range anymore, because they had to learn a different way to deal with society. When you join the military, they kind of brainwash you and help you to conform into being a soldier. And I went through that too, and I totally understand what had to be done. And I felt that at the time that I was serving my country, and that's a good thing to do. And I don't say that's a bad thing to do either. But um, when you get out of the military, um, let's say if you're in the military and you're in wartime, and you actually had to kill somebody or kill several people or drop bombs on other nations and stuff like that. Um, if you're a civilian and you kill somebody, then you're sent to jail for murder. So it's not good if you're a civilian doing it, but if you're doing it for society, if you're murdering for society, then it's totally, you're a hero. You're a great person, and that's hard to come away from when you get out of the military, when you have to deal with life's uh, um, hardships and feeling that you're not a part of that camaraderie that you were once part of. So many people join groups and stuff like that, like the VFW and the American Legion and other societies that help you come back into society and cope with life and cope, especially around the holidays. It's really tough for these guys and these girls that had to go and fight for our country's freedom. But anyway, if you can find this new center and dive into it, I think it'll help you very much and help you to not only get through the holidays, but basically to cope with life on a daily basis, to get out of your depression, to realize that that's below the normal range, but like I said, you don't have to be just a part of the normal anymore. If that doesn't sound appealing to you, then there is something else. There's something higher. And I guess that's what I wanted to share with you today, dealing with Christmas coming up in a couple weeks. I'm going up to Waco again next weekend with a friend of mine. I almost didn't go because I couldn't find anybody to ride up there with me. My wingman kind of had other plans for the holidays and he couldn't come, so I decided to see if anybody else wanted to go with me, and I found somebody so it'll be fun. It'll be a fun trip. Um, I will say this too before I depart, that a lot of surfers, we don't. It's not really a depression when you're a surfer, but it's if you don't surf for, I mean, if you're used to surfing a lot and you have that surf fever every time there's a wave, you want to be out there. If you go weeks without surfing, surfers kind of feel a form of depression. It's like the sadness comes over you. It's like, oh man, I got to get some waves. I sure hope something happens soon. Um, it's you start what they call jonesing for waves. You start going through withdrawal symptoms, because waves are so addictive and so fun and so enjoyable, and they give us our life meaning. They give it gives a lot of meaning to a lot of surfers, and helps them to cope through holiday seasons too. All right, I guess we'll end it there. But thanks again for joining me, and thanks again for listening to me. And I hope you have a great holiday season. And maybe if you're real nice, your loved one might grant you a new surfboard for Christmas. I don't know. Take care of yourselves. Much love and aloha to all you beautiful surfers out there, and blue skies to all you skydivers. Um, I'm just trying to do this. Very thankful for everything that I've got and all my friends, and thankful we got waves yesterday, and looking forward to going up to Waco next weekend. But mahalos, and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.